Renee Kahn. I've been a painter since I'm 13 or 14 years old. There's a myth among artists that you have to be monomaniacal, that all you do is art from morning till night. Yeah, it's fine if you're painting squares of different colors, fine, that works very well. But if you're dealing with real life, it's very important for you as an artist to be out in the world. And I found that teaching art history was enormously advantageous, and being involved in local politics and zoning has given me something to say. So I don't just paint pretty pictures, they're boring, I can do it just like anybody else, but it's much more fun to take a jaundiced eye, to look at my surroundings and use it as fodder for art. So I've enjoyed that very much. I enjoy teaching modern art, early 20th century. And then, as I said, I've been involved in local politics as a preservationist, which is somewhat of a lost cause in Stanford, but it certainly has been interesting. A lot of what I saw was corruption, bribery, stupidity, and none of it, you couldn't come out openly and say, that was the most dumb zoning decision I ever heard. Who paid you off for that? Can't do that. On the other hand, I can do a painting or a puppet, a cutout, or I can express it in some way in my art, what I feel and what I've learned. Humor is a wonderful way to be critical without getting your head chopped off. If you're too out there in politics, you're going to be punished, and you have to accept that you're willing to take the punishment. However, if you use humor, you can always hide behind it. Some of my humor is more literal, such as the portfolio of mayors that I created. And some of it is more abstract. It has a strong cubist or surrealist quality to it, and it comes from the unconscious. The more literal ones, the Mayor's is one of the earlier pieces, is taken from the fact that every town I went into in Connecticut had a lineup of mayor photographs in their town hall. And they all looked like you wouldn't trust any of them with a nickel, let alone with your government. They all had this kind of look about them. Comedy makes you laugh out loud. But what I'm doing is social satire, and that just brings a smile of recognition to you, to your face. And that's what I'm after. I want you to look at my work and have it give you some insight into your world in a way that if I couldn't lecture you, you wouldn't want to hear it. But if I did a funny painting or portrait of a mayor, then you're willing to accept my message. When my last child went off to kindergarten, I decided that I was going to become a full-time painter. And then I began to think, what do I want to paint? I'm not the conventional suburban painter. I don't like landscape, and still life bores me. And I thought, I'm an outsider here. So I began to think, what do I want to say? And then I felt being an outsider gave me a certain view that I wouldn't have if I were part of the establishment. Most art done around here is what I call kitchen art. People don't have real large studios, and so they work to, I have a theory that artists work to the scale of their space. For example, I have this large studio space, and so the work gradually got bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, I started out in the kitchen, and then as I moved in here, it got to fill in the studio. Working big is physically very satisfying. I love having a large canvas to work on, and I love going up to it and not without an idea in my head and taking a piece of charcoal and starting to draw. And I never know who's going to appear. And it's almost like you set yourself up in a dream state and then you begin to dream and you don't know who's there. And the wonderful thing is, if I don't like them, it's just charcoal. I take a rag and I wipe it off and I start over again. Also, I'm not interested particularly in selling work, because the commonly accepted wisdom is that you should paint something that would fit over somebody's fireplace or in someone's suburban living room. Big things don't sell, people don't have the room. So by not concentrating on selling, I have the freedom to work at any scale I want. Humor requires that people have meaning. Otherwise, there's no such thing. You can't express you can't express that something is funny if the person doesn't mean anything, if he's just a cog in a giant wheel.